Right, in the last video we looked at this idea of basically having a little combo box which you can put all your sort of customer IDs and first names, surnames and postcodes if you wanted to find someone who'd forgotten their card. To be honest with you, you might want to say, well actually that could turn into a massive drop down list, and what I would like to do actually is to simply type in the postcodes and then give me a little sub list of all the people that live at that particular postcode. So we're going to try doing it that way as well. Now, if you think about it logically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose this combo box here, but the whole point is if you're filling this form in, if we start a new record, I must sort that out, but anyway, you get the idea. We're going customer ID, we don't know the customer ID. We'd really want like a button here to enable us to type a postcode in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lose this combo box down here, and we'll put a little button here which is going to open up a little form that's going to display our data. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's just go in here, I think, and we'll just I'm going to tell you what, actually whilst we're at it, let's just tidy this up a little bit, because this box is too big and this one keeps scrolling across, so let's just move that over. Oh, moved it a bit too far. And whilst we're there, we'll just get rid of that unbound box there. I'm just going to double check that's okay. Yeah, that's better. It won't now, so we won't now need to sort of scroll left and right, well, especially if I got rid of that edge there. Oh, press yes. And whilst we're at it, because we're going to do things professionally, let's just do that now. I think hopefully now, Egypt, talk amongst yourself whilst I try and solve this problem. Let's maximise that up and scroll properly here. That's better. Oh, get the edge of that. Let's bring that over. Now finally we've got something that kind of makes sense. The little box is in the right place, and there's well, there should have been a lack of a scroll bar. I'm sure you get the idea of where this is going, but it gives you an idea about layout as well. So an extra lesson, shall we say. No scroll bar at the bottom now. So we still want this button to find a particular customer by postcode. Well, okay, the first thing we're going to do is we'll just minimize that one down for the moment. We're going to need to create a query, and in this query I'm just interested in the customer table, because the only data that I want to add to this query is going to be, if we just make it a little bit bigger so we can see it all, the only data I'm going to add to the query, oh, can't quite see it all, there we go, is going to be, I want to know the customer ID. That's the whole point, we're trying to find the customer ID, and we're going to do this by typing in their postcode, and we're going to need their first name and surname, because obviously you can have two people living at the same postcode. We've got Morris Goff and Sophie Smith at CT11AA. Now if I run this query as it is, it just finds everybody in the database. That isn't very much use to us. We want to, in the design of the query, get the query to ask a question first of all, as in, what postcode are you looking for? And to do that, in my criteria here, I'm just going to put, oh, wrong one, a little square bracket, and I'm going to put please enter postcode. And that'll make sense in a moment when I run the query, because when I run the query, I'll put please enter. And you can see that's what happens. Whatever you type inside the square brackets appears as a message here. So netter rather than enter. And if I were to put CT11AA, you'll notice that's in lowercase and not uppercase. Does that matter? No, it doesn't. It still finds those two people that are actually at that postcode. So I'm going to go back into design view, and we'll change netter to enter. And I'm kind of happy with that query, so I'm going to close it down, and I'm going to press yes, and I'm going to give it a name that I would recognize. So QRY underscore, I think we'll call it ID from postcode. I think that would make sense roughly. I'm going to press OK. Now, just going back to that form a second, the whole point is what we want, a little box to fire up the results, but I don't want to fire it up in a query, because that'll end up being a little bit messy and taking over the screen. I'm actually going to make a little form based upon the query itself. So to do that, let's minimize this one down for a moment, and we'll go to forms, and we'll use the wizard here, because you may as well. And that's what we want. Query no, it's not, is it? Query ID from postcode is what we're after. We'll have a little form with all of those in there. We'll press next, and we'll press next, and we'll press next, and we'll give it a name. So I'll call it FRM form of the query ID from postcode. And we're just going to press finish, and it's going to get us to pop that up. Well, if we just put one in to show it running, we get the form, but unfortunately the form itself isn't in the right view. I'd like to either have a data sheet or what I call continuous forms. I think we've been there before. So I'm just going to go into design view here of this little form that pops up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the view from a single form to continuous forms. And then to do this, we're just going to have to Control X, pop up here, press Control V, and all we're doing is we're cutting the labels. Annoying thing is they overlay each other, so you've got to move them with the arrows there. That'll do. And I'll Control X, and I'm going to go up the top again, and we'll Control V, and again I'm going to move it across with the arrows. There we go. That should do about right. And finally, we're going to Control X and Control V, and we're going to move that over there, and then I'm just going to move my customer ID there, my postcode there, my first name there, and my surname there. I'm going to get rid of all that space at the bottom. Now again, might need a little bit there. I'm not going to lay it out perfectly because you're going to see what happens now when we run this. We'll press yes, and we'll close it down, and we'll go back to form order. And what we need now is just a button to launch that other form. So into design, into here, and it says, what do you want this to do? We'll go to form operations, please, and I want you to open a form. And what form is it that you want us to open? Well, it's the form based on that query, which is that one. I'll just press finish. And now let's imagine Sophie's come in, and oh, that was a bit foolish. I can edit that button later on. Don't know why I just pressed finish. I should have gone through and made it write something. I think, actually, tell you what, let's do that again because that was foolish of me. Okay, let's do form operations, open form next, ID from postcode next, and I should have carried on. I pressed finish, didn't I? Open form, show all the records next, and it says, what do you want to have it? I will put find ID from postcode. I think that's going to be what appears on the button. Find customer ID. Oh no, the button's not quite big enough. Okay, that's no problem. We can make that a little bit wider. A meaningful name, I'll have it for the button later. I'm not going to be using the button later on, so I'm just going to leave it as Command 9. If I do, then I can rename it later on anyway. So what happens is something like this. Again, let's just lay it out so it looks a little bit smarter. Cool. Just meant to grab that and move that over just a little bit. So our new customer comes in. She wants to hire the Wizard of Oz, but we don't know her ID number. So we're going to find the ID from the postcode. She turns around and she says it's CT1 1AA, and we can clearly see that on CT1 1AA we've got two people, Morris Goff and Sophie Smith. Quite clear it's Sophie Smith, so therefore I know that the customer ID is number 2. So all I have to do now is say, oh, you were number 2. Or, of course, what I could do is just type it in manually. Let's get that for a moment. 4, enter, and it finds out that's Amelia Evans, but of course it was 2 for Sophie. Press enter. Sophie Smith, who's taking out the Wizard of Oz. So that's an alternative way of finding a particular customer ID. You can either make your own query and base a form around it, or you can do it via a combo box. For me, I think I prefer this method. Anyway, why don't you have a crack at having a go at that yourself?